My wife and her best friend accused me of having an affair, then got angry when I didn't have one. I 31 male and my wife 29 female had a baby last December. It was a traumatic birth and my wife developed postpartum depression. While she was originally going to go back to work after the birth, she's been struggling enough that we decided to wait until our daughter was a year old and reassess. She has been going to therapy weekly, with my wife home full time. I've had to work increased hours. This is something we discussed prior to making this decision and she knew this from the start. A few weeks ago, my boss approached me about a project that would require a lot of overtime in a short amount of time. It would both be great financially and for my career. I talked to my wife about it and she agreed that I should say yes to my boss. For the 4 weeks I'd be working on this, my mother-in-law and her best friend Jessie, 29 female, would come help out with some of the duties that I typically do. Jessie is a stay-at-home mom with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She began coming over during the day and would watch the kids with my wife. 3 weeks into the project, it became clear that we'd need a few more weeks to get it together. I went home that night and talked to my wife about it. She said she was okay with it, but got very cold in the days after. It wasn't unusual behavior over the past few months, so I didn't think much about it and tried not to take it personally. During the last week of the project, I got home one night and saw that Jessie was still at the house. I didn't think much about it, said hi to her and my wife, and then went to go check on our daughter. Before I could get to her room, I heard Jessie say something along the lines of, "He doesn't even stop to greet you. Definitely a sign." I turned around and asked what it was a sign of. Immediately, my wife started crying and Jessie started accusing me of having an affair. She told me that I must hate my wife because she has postpartum depression and am not attracted to her because she gained weight from the pregnancy. Neither of these things are true. I'm trying my best to help my wife through her postpartum depression while supporting our family, and I think she looks great how she is right now. She just hasn't wanted to have sex and I haven't pushed. Jessie then demanded to see my phone. I told her no. She told me that's a sign that I'm guilty. I told my wife that I would let her see my phone if she wanted to. She nodded and something inside me broke. I guess it was the thought that she actually believed I was having an affair really got to me, and that she didn't trust me after everything we've been through. Well, she looked through the phone and there was no evidence. Jessie started saying that I deleted the evidence. She started screaming and woke up our daughter, so I told her to get out of the house. Eventually, she left and I went to calm our daughter since my wife was still on the couch crying. When my daughter was asleep again, I sat down by my wife and tried to talk to her about what's been happening. She told me that she's been worried ever since I started working all the overtime. I told her that we'd talked about how good of an opportunity it was and she agreed to letting me take on this project. She said it was very suspicious to increase the length of the project. I told her that sometimes that happens. She wanted more evidence, so I showed her messages and emails with timestamps from work and pay stubs showing the overtime. She said she believed me and was sorry for doubting me. It was just that Jessie had been telling her that these were all signs that I was cheating. I asked her why she believed Jessie more than me, and why she didn't come to me with her concerns. She didn't have a real answer. It's been a couple weeks and the project is over. I actually scaled back and am trying to work a little less than I was before the project so I can spend more time with my wife and daughter. But I feel so burnt out trying to do everything and becoming resentful because in the back of my mind, I know that my wife doesn't trust me. I ask myself, what happens the next time I have a project, or I have to run errands one day, or if I have a business trip, am I going to come back every time to accusations that I'm cheating? I've tried bringing it up a couple times but my wife tells me it's not the time and that she's tired or sad. I try to be mindful of her feelings but I wonder if that means that I can never have any of my own. I'm not sure what to do here. Any advice for how I can move forward? Update. That night I approached my wife and told her that I was going to find a therapist. I didn't connect it to her accusations or anything. Just said that I was having a tough time and needed therapy. She shrugged and told me to do whatever. Next day, I got home from work and our room and my home office were ripped apart. Things everywhere. Important papers scattered. I don't see her but our daughter's in her room crying. My wife left her alone. Her cell phone's off. I call my in-laws and a few friends, but no one's seen her. I'm starting to get worried and I call my mom to see if she can babysit while I go out and look for her. Before my mom can get home, my wife gets back. Jessie's driving. Jessie doesn't come in. She hasn't been back in the house since I kicked her out because she was offended by my behavior. But my wife does. She's clearly upset. Been crying. I ask what happened. I thought at first the house might have been robbed. She starts screaming at me that I'm being unfaithful and that the therapy is a front so I can meet my mistress. I try to calm her down and tell her that's not true, but she came at me and she whacked me. My nose is broken. She kind of realized what she did and sat down on the couch and went comatose. Just stared at the wall. I went into my daughter's room and locked the door. Called my mom to tell her what happened. She was already on her way, and my mother-in-law to ask her to come over and take care of my wife. I packed a bag for my daughter and when my mom got there, we left. My wife didn't even look up. We dropped my daughter off with my dad and then went to urgent care for my nose. I got blood all over my mom's new Subaru. My daughter and I are staying with my parents for a while and my wife's staying with hers. I am looking into getting a restraining order against Jessie. My wife and I are separating. I love her but I won't live with someone who hurts me and who could potentially hurt our daughter. I am not going forward with a divorce yet, with the hopes that my wife will get the treatment she needs and we can work things out. My in-laws told me that they're looking at inpatient treatment at a local hospital, but I also have everything well documented in case of an eventual custody battle. My heart's broken because I know this isn't my wife, this is a sickness in her mind, but I need to keep myself and our daughter safe and give her the space to recover. I'm hoping that this is the right decision. Thanks again everyone. Update 2. Do I let the woman I fought with my wife's death let her speak at her funeral? My wife passed on early Monday morning. Convinced by her friend Jessie that I was having an affair that I did not have, she had a mental break, which resulted in my taking our infant daughter and staying with my parents for a while. She was with her parents, who planned on taking her to the hospital for inpatient treatment on Monday. On Sunday night she came to my parents' house and demanded I give her our daughter. Because she had left her alone for several hours the last time she was responsible for her and had gotten physical with me, I refused. I offered to let her come in and spend time with her while my parents and I were present. But she didn't want to come in and wanted to take our daughter with her. She was upset but left eventually. A few hours later, she drove her parents' car into a tree and passed away. The friend, Jessie, came to see my daughter and me yesterday. After some tears, she told me that she was planning to speak at my wife's funeral. She had already cleared it with my in-laws but was letting me know as a courtesy. I told her she would not be speaking at the funeral. We fought and she left after telling me that I was an asshole and not the only person who loved my wife. I talked to my in-laws who were adamant that Jessie be allowed to speak. She and my wife knew each other since they were kids and my in-laws are close to her. We're all very fragile right now and I fear that pushing this further would hurt my relationship with my in-laws, which I don't want. Still, the thought of seeing Jessie up there at my wife's funeral makes me feel sick. I don't think I can stand to listen to her, knowing that she took joy in my wife's deteriorating mental health and picked up my wife, leaving my daughter home alone. That being said, I don't trust myself to make the best decisions right now. My mind's clouded by grief, guilt, and fear. My parents are split on what to do and I don't have the energy to reach out to my friends, so I'm coming here again to ask for your advice. Thank you. Today I messed up by wearing noise-canceling headphones while self-pleasuring. I 19 male am staying at my college dorms for the coming summer as I signed up for some summer classes. My college opened up my building for summer students so I got lucky and got to stay in mine. All semester long I had a roommate but now that he was gone for the summer I could use the place to myself. I had also just got some noise-canceling headphones so I was excited to fire up some Shakira videos and have a nice long wank session. I got 3 monitors so I can really get into the zone. No, before the dorms are given to the students for the summer there was supposed to be a room inspection. This was supposed to take place yesterday. They have been reminding us about it for about a month, but I forgot. As I was self-pleasuring yesterday I was sat in my computer chair, headphones on with the door towards the back side on my left. Towards me getting really into it I felt a gust of wind and a slight change in light in my room for a couple of seconds but I didn't pay much attention to it. This morning I woke up and met up with some friends who are also staying for the summer. They asked about my room inspection, and I said no one came to my room. They found that strange and said theirs happened at 3 p.m., which was right around the time I was doing my thing. Reddit, do you think I didn't have the inspection or do you think someone opened my door and saw me doing the deed? The inspection is run by my RA, this cute blonde, and I am honestly desperately hoping she did not open my door. She didn't come right, just need some peace of mind. I've been reverse pickpocketing my parents for years, and I think I'm addicted to it. When I was younger, I noticed how excited my mother would get over finding money on the ground or in the wash, even if it was only $1. Once I was a bit older and had a job, I realized that I had money I could spend however I wanted. My parents didn't really like receiving random gifts when it wasn't a holiday or birthday, so I started sneaking 1s and 5s into their wallets, bags, and even coat pockets. It made me so happy to see how excited my mom would get even though it wasn't much money, and sometimes my dad would bring home candy with the surprise, extra money. I'm an adult now and still live with my parents. They let me live with them super cheap even though money has been a little tight the last few years. They don't like it when I just give them money to help, even if they pay me back. I've started reverse pickpocketing 10s and 20s. My mom gets especially excited and tells me all about the money she found. My dad doesn't vocalize that he found it. He just brings home ice cream or fast food for the family. The problem is, I can't stop. It's not putting me at a detriment because they don't charge much for rent, but I'm worried I'll get caught soon. I'll probably stop once our financial situation is a bit better in a year or so. I just absolutely love the smile it brings to my mother's face, and the smile my dad has when he surprises us with a special treat. It's worth the $20 to $30 every paycheck. I don't do it too often, but it's been going on for so long I think I'm addicted to it.
My dad kept his no questions asked, just call me for help promise. My 13 female, dad is a good dude, he's not perfect, he'll get pissed over smaller things sometimes that I think aren't worth the trouble, he gets a bit too drunk with his coworkers occasionally and gets banished from my parents' bedroom. All in all though, good dad. One thing that I've been told again and again since I was in elementary school is that if I'm ever in real trouble, he will always be there to help. I've never had to take him up on his promise until I was invited to a party a few weeks ago, told my parents I was sleeping over at a friend's place. There were some older guys at the party and hard liquor. My friends and I will sneak the occasional beer, but it was our first time trying things like vodka and whiskey. We got really drunk and the high schoolers were being creepy. My friends really didn't want to call their parents, kinda understandable because we were wasted at a party with boys we didn't know that well. I ended up calling my dad at like 3 a.m. He just asked for the address and immediately drove over, dropped off my 2 friends and then we drove home. Honestly, I thought I was in for the shout session of a lifetime. Low-key I knew I deserved it. All he did, though, was hold my hand and tell me that the world can be a dangerous place and to please make safe, smart decisions. Next morning, he acts as if nothing has happened. Apparently my dad just told my mom that I was feeling a bit sick and came home during the night, which was true because my hangover was horrible. My dad, this guy.